So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create my app smash using Haiku Deck, Tellagami, excuse me, and then putting everything together in iMovie to make it look nice. One of the reasons why I like Haiku Deck so much over Keynote is because we know with Keynotes, students tend to focus more on putting in the pictures and all of the effects, and then they just don't put in the correct information or they just type in way too much information. And Haiku Deck forces the students to do the complete opposite of all those problems that we ever have. It doesn't allow them to focus on putting in multitudes of pictures. They can actually put in one picture per slide, and the slides or the pictures that they have available are actually really nice and very detailed pictures. But then when it comes to the information, it doesn't allow them to type tons of information. They actually have to focus on the main points and put those in there. So that's one of the reasons why I love Haiku Deck so much. Now, there are some drawbacks to Haiku Deck. You do have to create an account in order for students to use it. Now, I haven't done this yet, but what I'm thinking about doing is creating what is called a class account, where I just create an account using 5SL and then say the password is Panthers, and then all the students can go ahead and access it. The benefit to that is that, well, everyone is on the same account, and then number two, you will have access to everyone's presentations. So if you want to look at it, you can. The other thing is you can't download an entire presentation to the camera roll. However, you can take screenshots, and the screenshots come out really nice. You can export this as a PDF and share it with other people. You can present it in the Haiku Deck format. So there's a lot of things that you can do, but some of the drawbacks are the ones that I'd mentioned. So with that being said, let me show you what it looks like and how simple it is to create one of these app smashes using Haiku Deck. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to touch on my screen in between the apps and just pull down to do a search for Haiku Deck. And you can see I have it right here because I already started typing it in here. And then I'm going to go ahead and open it. Now you may have to sign in for the first time. That's fine. But then there's a couple of preloaded presentations. If you want to learn more about Haiku Deck, you can. I'm going to touch the plus sign right here to create a new one. And then when it comes up, the first thing you have to do is put in a title of your presentation. We know with Keynote and even with PowerPoint, this is like the one thing that kids always forget. And I remember having to tell them over and over, title your presentation. So I'm going to call this one App Smashing. I started typing on my computer, not on my iPad. Got confused. And then when I'm done, it will allow me to start creating my presentation. It's going to load up some slides. And as you can see here, I can actually choose a theme, a different one if I want, or I can just stick with the one that I have. So to edit it, just very simply, tap to edit. And now what you see that comes up is you see that you have all these different formats that you can use. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose this one right here. And now I'm going to start beginning and typing out my app smash or my presentation for my app smash. So to add in my title, I'm just going to double tap and I'm going to type in Y app smash. Okay, now when that's done, I just go to my next item and I can give my reasons why. I can say that it's Common Core, it's, and I'm going to try to type in more words so you can see what happens, that the words actually get smaller because it doesn't allow the kids to go to the next line, which is something I really like. Okay. Higher level of thinking. Do you see how the words started getting smaller, which is something I really like? Don't have to find the magical. See how it's starting to get smaller? It doesn't allow kids to just keep typing and typing and typing, and that is something that's huge. And I think it's going to be really important for the culture night because that was something we saw last year that happened all the time. Let me see, we can sit there and say it's cost effective. I'm just making things up as I go, and then we can say it's fun. Now, the one thing I noticed with these formats, if I have a template that has where I have to make 5 points on it, I have to make 5 points. I can't just make 3 and leave the rest blank. So that is a little bit of a drawback. But you can find a different template, to meet your needs. So once that's done, I click done, and now I can go ahead and I can add an image. And if I come over here, you can see that I can change my text type. And if I come down here, this is where I can find images. And this is another part of Haiku Deck I really like, because I can do a search on their library and they have a ton of images. I can also import my own. I can look at favorites that I found before, or even things that were in my history. I've already tried to do a search for app smashing. I didn't find anything, but I did find one online that I saved to my camera roll. So students still have that option to go to, websites like Creative Commons Images or to Google to find images and then to save them to their camera roll because they can still access it. So I click import, and then I'm going to look for photos in my photos. I'm going to go to my camera roll. As you can see, I've already been playing with this. And there's the image that I wanted, that I found, that I want to use. So then I click add image, and then it comes up and it's right there. So far what I've done is I've gone ahead and I have made my first slide, for my presentation. Now if I want to go ahead and I want to use this slide as my background to my Tellagami, all I have to do is just touch the play button, which is what I've done, and it's automatically saving my Haiku Deck, which is another really nice feature about this, so students don't lose anything. And then once I have it, I make sure that whatever information was at the very top, that toolbar, is gone. And then when it is, I'm just going to do a screenshot by clicking the home button and the power button together. And I wait for that flash. And now I know that it's been saved to my camera roll. So my first slide is done. I hit the home button, and now I want to narrate my app smash. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a search for Tellagami, and then I'm going to wait for Tellagami to open. Now this is the really nice part that I like about app smashing, because instead of parents just reading a presentation, you can actually have an animated character who looks like the child or looks like the person talking in front of the slide and actually explaining what's on the slide in more detail. So that's, a real benefit to this. So in order to change my character, I can go to character, I can change how they look, their emotion, but here is where I'm going to do my background. I'm going to choose a different background. So I click on background, and I can take a photo from my iPad, so whatever scenario I'm in, I can take a picture of wherever I am and use that as my background. I can draw one, or I can go to my library. I'm going to go to my library because that's where my photos are. And then I'm going to go to my photos, and I'm going to find the slide that I just created. And that's the one. So there it is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to begin to record. Now, remember, I can always move my character out of the way. I know that my head is blocking a little bit, but I don't really care too much. And when it's all set, I just go ahead and I press message, and I can press record, and now I can begin recording my presentation, my slide. I can sit there and say, why App Smash? Well, it's Common Core, and it requires kids to think on a whole different level. It is higher level of thinking. You don't realize it, but you're taking what you're learning and you're applying it, and that's at the highest level of thinking. You don't have to find a magical app. You can have multiple apps as long as whatever you're working with can be saved to the camera roll. It's cost effective because now you're using these apps all the time. So it makes sense to buy them. And then overall, the kids think it's fun. So when you're done, you press stop, and then it's going to go ahead and analyze your voice. And you wait for that to happen so you can go back and you can listen to how you sound, and if you're happy with everything, then you can just go ahead and move on. If you're not, you can go ahead and re-record. And that's the beauty of Tellagami. So it's playing back. I'm happy with it. I'm going to stop it. And now I want to save it. So I'm going to go ahead and press the share button. And then I'm going to go ahead and save it where it says save. And when I save it, it's going to go ahead and it's going to save it to my camera roll. And again, when you're talking about app smashing, whatever you're working on has to be able to go back to the camera roll because you want to save what you did to your camera roll or to your photos. And then when you open up a new app, you want to be able to grab what you were working on from your camera roll and begin working on it in a new app. And that's where the term app smashing comes together because I started working in Haiku Deck and I saved what I did by taking a screenshot to my photos. I opened up Tellagami. I then took what I had in my photos from Haiku Deck and I'm now working with it in Tellagami. And now I'm taking my Tellagami and Haiku Deck work and I'm going to go ahead and work with it in iMovie to put it all together. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to do a quick search for iMovie. And then when that comes up, this is where I like to, and the students like to go ahead and they like to make things look nice and cleaner. So to do this, I'm just going to touch the plus sign. And I personally think that iMovie is easier to use on the iPad than it is on the laptop. It's very simple. I'm going to create a new movie, so I'm going to touch movie. And then I'm going to click on create. I always use the simple version because it's the easiest and it's simple. And then to access my footage, I'm going to touch here where it says all. Now this is the nice part, is that I'm going to choose this first piece. I've done this a couple times just to test it. But I have an option. I can use this arrow to drop it down below. I can press play from right here to review it to make sure it's the right one. And then there's other options that's more advanced, but that's another time. So I'm going to choose the drop down. And I'm going to bring it down below. And this is where I can put in some edits. Now, one thing I hate is this advertisement. You've done this great app smash, and then you're going to ruin it at the end with this cheesy advertisement. Plus, if a student wants to make their presentation longer, you don't want it to be broken up with this ugly advertisement. You just want it to look seamless. So to get rid of it is actually very simple. All I have to do is just touch on the clip. And then you can see that it's highlighted, and I have this thick bar at the end, this thick yellow bar. All I have to do is just touch it and keep my finger on it and just drag it back until I see that the Tellagami advertisement is gone from up here. If you are just waiting for it to disappear from down here, it's watermarked and it kind of bleeds into the regular movie. So that's why you want to wait for it to be disappeared from up above. So I'm just going to take it and I'm going to drag it back until I see it's gone from the top. See how I'm going back? And there we go. Now it's gone. So there you go. Now I have my final piece. It's completed. Now if the kids wanted to add another one in, or if someone wanted to add another one in, let's say this was my second clip here, all I have to do is just touch it, and again, just drop it below. And now the two pieces are spliced together. I can get rid of that advertisement again, doing the same thing. Highlight, touch, drag it backwards until it's gone from the top. Keep going, keep going. Sometimes it feels like it's going on forever. Don't worry, it's fine. And then there you go. And now I have two pieces put together seamlessly. And then I can just go back and I can title it whatever I want. And then I would touch here, the get out of here button, and I have several options. I can upload it to YouTube, to the movie theater, to a cloud, or right back to my camera roll. That's usually where I save it because then I can submit it, I can put it wherever I want, but the choice is entirely up to you. So that's all there is to it. Happy app smashing, and I hope you found this to be useful.